No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
What's up, everybody? Good morning. It's Pikel with League of Items, and today we're going to go over the matches from last night, and then we're going to take a look at the LPL and the LCK. It's going to be a pretty quick I'd sometimes say that kind of thing. I have no idea if it's going to be a quick video or not. It depends on how much I want to talk. So last night we had JDG against EDG and LGD against Anyone's Legends. Before we get started, I wanted to shout out some people from Discord. Somebody asked me at like 1:30 Eastern what I was doing for like Anyone's Legends because of the pricing being weird, and I said I made one lineup as a hedge. Well, that one lineup chopped for first. About 100 something people chopped for first place, so obviously it's not like I had some kind of brilliant sneaky idea, but the reason why you make like 1 out of 5 or 6 lineups as a hedge is for this sort of reason. And the way that I look for this kind of lineup is by trying to figure out which lineups have the style that I think would lead to a win. And in this scenario, I thought that if EDG beat up on JDG, that there would be a good chance that you're just taking the supplementary parts from Anyone's Legends. So Anyone's Legends against LGD won 3 games, and they weren't like particularly high scoring or anything like that. So this kind of just worked out. Like there's no reason for me to think that every time it's like EDG and Anyone's Legends Anyone's Legends wins that this is going to be the winning lineup. But you have to give yourself a chance at this type of chop. In the $333 tournament, 5 people chopped. S. Gojaneni. No idea if that's correct. R. Fresh, J. Bolero, G. Easy, and DFS Splash chopping up top. That's pretty cool. Congrats to them. But the thing I wanted to mention is that like the comments in Discord are just so like unhinged and upset about like what's going on in these games. Baby Goat said some insane things about Shadow and Xiaohao. They also said that Xiaohao made top 5 on the ladder when they were 16, so that's some good information to get. And then they have a lot of the people in the Discord have opinions about different stuff, and sometimes I think it's accurate, sometimes I think it's inaccurate, but it's always good to read it because it helps you think to yourself, what do I think about the player that they're talking about? The last thing I wanted to talk about from the Discord was something that Q said. Where is it? A little bit too much shadow slander, in my opinion, in the Discord. But Q said, I love it. This shit is like a virtual game of Bean Boozled. Is it cotton candy flavor or sweaty socks? It's the kind of thing you only get from Q. So thanks for that, Q. He always says some weird, funny shit. But yeah, so my roster, my lineup was Jai Jai, Flandre, Xiaohao, Scout, Viper, Chow Chow, and Anyone's Legends. In the scoreboards, let's see if there's anything we notice. I didn't watch these games. I live on the East Coast. I was sleeping. We had an Annie pocket pick against Jace. That's pretty interesting. Jai Jai unleashed a can of whoop ass onto Kanavi, 11-2 and 15. Scout 7-0-14 against Yagao Zoe. And Yagao Zoe is actually pretty good, I think. Viper on Jin, 6-2-6. That's fine. Then in the game two, so the first game there's 29 kills. Game 2, 22 kills. Vlad against Kennen, not a big deal. Lee Sin against Xin okay. Vex and Zoe again. So it does seem like they're gonna play Zoe. That should be good for like peak performances out of Yagao in the future if we see more Zoe games. But Zoe does tend to make getting kill contributions on their team a little bit more difficult. So we could see like a lower correlated DraftKings scoring. Then we have Viper on Jin again, and this is a good time to make the point that I understand that Viper is playing Jin, and some people are going to say, "Oh, well, if Viper plays Jin and you say that Jin players are bad, doesn't that make Viper bad?" No, Viper at his core is not a Jin player. Can he play Jin? Yes. The same thing happened when Huanfeng made a run at Worlds. He is capable of playing Jin. That actually demonstrates my point. My point is that a truly good AD carry can play the utility AD carries because they can play the difficult stuff. So it all kind of feeds into itself. Not a very close matchup according to the score lines and everything. The one thing that I would say is that in JDG's next match, they're up against RNG. That does interest me again. I think that JDG is a team that we kind of have to be in early on because of especially after a performance like this, people will be afraid to play them and think to themselves, "Oh wow, they're horrible." And then the other side is also true. The fact that they gave up 29 kills and 22 kills, even if they were more competitive in this series, it does kind of make RNG a more attractive team to roster. So on the 14th, when we get what's probably going to be a 5-game slate with the LPL and the LCK, you'll get some extremely low ownership on JDG, which is interesting, and you'll have the very high upside of RNG, which is interesting. And then in the second match, we had LGD and Anyone's Legends. So after the first game, yes, I was asleep, but I would have been feeling great. This is a complete smackdown, 31 kills. Fearness, who we talked up a little bit yesterday, 9, 3, and 11. Shadow, 5, 6, and 16. Yedge, 9, 3, and 11. Eric, 8, 1, and 13. And the good thing to take away from this match is that, yes, you can get a ton of kills and then completely feed the next two, well, not necessarily feed, but you can completely throw away the next 2 games. So, again, didn't watch this live, but chat is saying that LGD threw this game away. So we get a Kennen out of Fearness. We get Olaf, Oriana, Jinx, Lulu. And then we have another Kennen, Talon, Victor, Jinx, Nautilus. I really don't like when the team that I'm picking plays Victor. Like, yes, it worked out here, but it's just, you kind of... and I think it was kind of shown best in Game 3. Akali has chances, like if Victor dies in lane, then the game is over. If Akali makes better roams, the game is over. And if you don't have consistent CC throughout the rest of your team, it's going to be difficult to stop Akali. So I'd rather have that kind of champion where the other team needs like several ways to stop your win condition, as opposed to Victor, where Victor really shines when there are like fights in tight corridors. If LGD managed to get an early game lead, then you'd be able to set up early on dragons, force them to walk into you, and then maybe Victor gets a couple people with an ultimate. Like, that's a good scenario, but just not the way that I would approach it. That's not the way that I would approach a draft. But that's it for yesterday's games. I had EDG and LGD. Out of my lineups, I had like 5, I think. 5. 4 or 5 lineups with LGD, because you kind of have to take a stand and pick lineups that fit the narrative you're trying to tell. But let's look at tomorrow's matches. So we have Rare Atom and Top Esports, and then we have Up and LNG. All right. So Top Esports against Rare Atom. Top Esports is a 496 favorite. Rare Atom is plus 365. So Zoom against Cube. I do prefer the Zoom side. I'm not 100% sure who the starters are going to be here. They haven't come out on Twitter yet. In the jungle, we have Tian or Xiaopeng against Leon, Junjia, or Fai. I think either way, I'm preferring Top Esports in the jungle there. Knight against Strive. I have no idea who Strive is, and I'm going to go ahead and take Knight, who is one of the best mid laners in the world. And then we have Jackie Love and Zhuo against iBoy and Zora or Yuyan Jia. And again, I think I just prefer Top Esports side. Yeah, not much more to say about that one. Like, I'm not going to try to get cute and go against Top Esports this early, unless they're like a legit team. Then we have Ultra Prime and LNG. So ZS is a high upside top laner if he's the one that's starting. I think that he could make for a surprising matchup. So ZS against Ale, I am somewhat interested in like playing against the hype of Ale. Sorry. Then in the jungle, we have Hacker against Tarzan. Tarzan is definitely the better player, which means that in order for Hacker to be competitive in this spot against a better jungler, you would really want the draft to go well. The one thing I'll say about LNG is that their playstyle allows teams to kind of hang around for a little bit, which might be a good thing for Ultra Prime. Then we have Duanbe against Cryan. Duanbe is the better player, but again, we have seen Cryan be on teams that are competitive with better squads. So I'm definitely favoring LNG in mid lane from a talent perspective, but there are a decent amount of champions that are going to allow Ultra Prime to be competitive. And then in the bot lane, we have Elk and Xiaoxi against Light and Elwandi or Light and Lumao. And I think I just prefer Elk and Xiaoxi straight up. I think that Elk is a very good AD carry. So now we have a split map where it's going to be the top half against the bot half. And if the draft goes well for Ultra Prime, they could have a jungle mid that transitions down into bot lane well. And it's because those are the types of not narratives. Those are the types of those are some of the ways that a game can play out, which is within reason. It's like League of Legends games can only go so many different directions once the champions are locked in, and it's like if you can play around the bot lane correctly, you give yourself a winning chance. So it's like a styles make fights kind of argument, and I think that for that reason, Ultra Prime is a team that I would kind of want to get access to for their potential to win a game. So I think definitely plus 1.5 is a good idea. I'm not 100% sure if I think that they could win the match outright, but it wouldn't be the most shocking outcome. And the other thing that we have to think about is the LPL has a lot of teams that are like similarly talented. I think in this specific instance, LNG is definitely better. But if Ultra Prime is going to make some kind of move and be more competitive in the middle and like upper middle portion of the table, then you need ZS to prove that he can play well against somebody like Ale. You need Hacker to play well against Tarzan, which I think he has done in the past. I think that Hacker can play well against the top players in the league. It's just that he's not a consistently dominant player. Like he's not that guy, but he has had some good performances. And then same thing with the rest of the team. So Ultra Prime is someone I've definitely got my eye on. I'd rather play players from Ultra Prime than Rare Atom. And I'd rather bet on Ultra Prime than Rare Atom. I'm not sure I will, but that's definitely where I would lean. Then let's go to the LCK. We have 2 games in the LCK. We get our first chance to see DRX. I'm a huge fan of DRX. I think that their roster is very interesting. So we have Kingen against Dove or Howling. And the problem with LCK is that we're not going to know the lineups until like right before the matches start, like a half an hour before the matches start. And it's only going to be for the first game. So we need to be careful when we're rostering these players if there are subs available. But Kingen against Dove or Howling. I don't know Howling. Maybe Howling has really good upside. I think I just prefer Kingen though. He's more of a known quantity, and it doesn't mean that he needs to win his lane for me to feel like I've made the right choice. He just needs to not lose his team the match, and I'll feel okay. Piosik against Kroko. I definitely prefer Piosik because Piosik is sick. In the mid lane, Zika against Closer. Closer is a very good mid laner, so this is going to be a good matchup. And it'll be fun. It should be a fun mid lane matchup to watch. The thing that I'm watching the closest out of this is what do DRX put Zika onto in a close matchup? Are they going to force him onto a control mage and make him go even in lane? Or are they going to say, we believe in Zika, if the opportunity presents itself, we're going to try to hard carry through mid, use a counter pick or something like that? I think that would be the thing that I prefer to see. But in the first match of a season, I could see the team being somewhat conservative. So this isn't necessarily going to give us the best measure of DRX's aggression for the split. And then the bot lane, we have Deft and Beryl against Ice or Envy and Kale. So I prefer the DRX side there. Minus 218. 218, that's 70%. That seems a little excessive. I mean, I don't think I would bet on that. That's fine. Let's just go to the next match. T1 against Kwangdong Freaks. So Zeus against Keen. Somebody actually made a comment the other day, like, "Hey, you forgot Keen in your video about top laners." I do think that Keen's very talented. I don't necessarily think that Keen belonged on that list. I think that Keen and Summit kind of remind me of one another in terms of like their talent level and their like reputation. So if you wanted to throw Keen and you have a high opinion of Keen, he probably belongs somewhere around where Summit is. That's just how I see it. Warner against Elim. So Elim is coming back trying to get some revenge against T1. I don't think that's going to work out too well for you. Then we have Fate against Faker. So Fate is good enough to be competitive in a matchup. So that'll be interesting. And then Gumayusi and Keria against Teddy and Hoyt probably. And I guess they have 3 players that were on T1. So that's a little added narrative for you. I'm not sure if it really matters. How big is this money line? Minus 286 to plus 226. If it was a little bit, if Kwangdong Freaks was a little bit, if you got a little bit more incentive to bet on them, I could see myself betting on T1 and then hedging with like a Kwangdong Freaks plus 1.5. That's probably not necessary. I think it's more likely that T1 just wins the match convincingly. But, let's think about the other side of this. I mean, if Keen is better than Zeus, if Zeus ends up having a bad debut performance, which I think is unlikely, not debut performance, is this his debut? If Zeus has some stage fright being the new starter, then maybe there's an issue there. Elim against Owner, I think that Owner is the better jungler at this point. And the reason is because when an organization like T1 picks you over a different jungler, you kind of have to assume that they've made the right decision, because T1 historically has consistently made the right decision. And we have seen some good performances from him, especially at Worlds. Then Faker and Fate. I mean, I don't think that T1 really needs to do much in the mid lane to create an advantage for Faker. But at the same time, I could see them just going even mid lane and forcing the issue in one of the side lanes. It would be interesting. The bot lane is probably the lane that I'm the most interested in seeing how it plays out, because Teddy's the veteran. Teddy probably has some good laning matchups that they can use. Like if they bait T1 into playing a hard carry, and then Kwangdong Freaks goes for an early game team composition, then it basically forces Kwangdong Freaks to kill off the game before T1 can outscale them. I could see something like that happening, because T1 probably feels like they probably feel like they have more skill and more of an ability to finesse the game. So I guess that's probably where I'm at for that matchup. And again, I think that the favorites are strong favorites tomorrow for a reason, but you always have to look for the possibilities of the underdog. And Kwangdong Freaks actually has like a surprising number of ways to win the match, because I think that the familiarity will benefit Kwangdong Freaks, assuming they run out the T1 players, the former T1 players. But you can't overstate that. So it's like, yes, I was on the same, and this is a hypothetical. If I was on the same team as Faker, I could watch him practice every single day. But when I go up against him in a match, that's not helping me very much. It's like, oh, I remember that time he kicked my ass in practice. Yeah, he had 15 kills against me in practice. I remember that. It's like, well, are you going to be able to change him getting 15 kills on you? It's like, probably not. But, I knew it happened in practice. I've seen it before. I'm ready for this. So that's kind of the concern. I got some good feedback about some of the videos that I've been using in these videos, like the different memes and stuff like that. If you have a good idea for a clip that I can play during a video, let me know in the comment section or on Discord. Just like whatever reason that you give me, I'll consider it. So that's all I've got for you today. If you want access to my picks, you got to sign up through Patreon. Patreon's $10 a month. It helps support the channel. It's not like you're not buying picks. You're helping support the videos that I make and helping me justify the time of doing this. I love doing this. I would potentially do it for free. It just helps me when I wake up and I think to myself, people want to see my videos. Let's make a video. So like I'll probably start trying to do that more and more. Like these morning videos, assuming that the LPL finishes up before I have to leave my house for work. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.